season 2 bathtub. Ohio bathtub season 2. Best friends, no clothing, confusing bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season.
Brought to you by
Tasteful Nudity.
Well, hello, Austin. It has been a long time. I haven't taken a bath since the last time we recorded, and that was like, what, a month ago?
Shit, that might be true for me too, actually. I haven't showered in a whole month.
I hope you've showered at least during that time.
Yeah, well,
I let him become the smelly kid in class? What the hell's the matter with me?
I'm trying to be efficient. I only bathe when I podcast now.
Okay, well, that means we have to start recording a lot more often, or we may have some health issues soon.
Yeah, my hygiene is directly affected by you now, Corey.
I don't think that's fair to leave just on me.
It's kind of on our listeners too, I guess.
I think we have equal blame in our delay between bathings.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have a cold open idea this week.
Then come at me with the hot open. Make it sizzle.
A hot open? Oh dear.
Quick, sell me a car.
I don't want to sell you a car. I love my car.
I didn't say sell me your car. Sell me a car.
I don't have any other cars to sell, Austin. I don't know what to do.
You're not cut out for this world, Corey.
I mean, I've made peace a long time ago that I am not a good salesman. I'm too
That's
nice.
fair. I can be a good salesman, but I prefer not to be because it means people.
When I worked at Radio Shack back in the day, I was so bad because I'd be like, look, this one thing that you're looking at is cheaper on Amazon, and this other thing, there's a deal at Best Buy right now. Like, go there.
Yeah, that doesn't work very well.
But I felt so bad. You know, my conscience hurt if I just sold them something if there was a better deal somewhere else. If we had a good deal, and we sometimes did, I would sell it up. But if it wasn't, then I wasn't gonna lie.
This is getting into ethics, I suppose, but there's a difference between lying and telling someone that there's a deal that they didn't ask about.
What do you think Nietzsche would think of podcasting, Austin? We're getting into ethics.
He would think it's best done from the water.
If Karl Marx was here, do you think he would pick Logic or Pro Tools?
Yeah, he'd be an Audacity or...
He'd be an Audacity man.
Cake Wave. Cakewalk, sorry, Cakewalk.
That's really funny. I'm blanking on other philosophers, and I love philosophy. I read so many philosophy books in college. Like, I was that stupid, stereotypical college kid that took philosophy 101 and thought I was the smartest dude ever and was reading all these other philosophy books in my free time. And I'm blanking. I realized after college that that's just snooty bullshit.
I will say, as I mentioned on the last episode of this, I have thoroughly been enjoying, I'm actually all caught up on it now, Paul Giamatti's podcast, and his co-host is a philosopher.
I know they exist, but it strikes my brain weird thinking about modern philosophers. In my head, a philosopher has to be dead for at least 2 decades before they can be a philosopher.
I don't think that's how that worked. I think Plato and Aristotle, they were philosophers during their time. They didn't only become philosophers after they died. They were just prolific enough that we remember them.
I know, but a living philosopher just doesn't seem right in my head. Which was that Greek philosopher that carried around a lamp and shit on people?
I know who you're talking about. I cannot remember his name.
He slept in a cave or a big pot. It was Diogenes. I'll pull up some quotes and post them over pictures of bathtubs later because, oh my god, he's the best philosopher to have ever existed.
Is he the one that got forced out of the city, or they tried to force him out of the city?
I think so. He invented cynicism.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure same guy.
Was captured by pirates and sold into slavery at one point. Then he discovered cynicism after that.
Yeah, that's about how it goes.
I'm a cynic.
Yeah, he said that he was always looking for an honest man, and that's why he was carrying a lamp everywhere, because he could never find one.
Where have all the good men gone? And where are all the guys?
Yeah, he slept in a tub. So, man, that's our patron saint.
He's our philosopher.
He thought that all people should deface any currency they got because it was fake.
That's kind of great. Can we get him on a dollar bill? Or maybe a 20?
Yeah, everything about him's great. So that is our new patron saint. He's our philosopher. Our patron philosopher is Diogenes.
Put him in a bathtub on a t-shirt.
Hell yeah. I want to be captured by pirates. That actually goes into the one backup cold open I had, was going to be asking if you thought we would make good boatmen in real life.
I don't know about boatmen, but I think we'd be good seamen.
Would we be good pirates?
We'd be the best pirates. We'd be swashbuckling with the best of them.
See, I don't know if I'd want to be a swashbuckling pirate. I'd want to be a magical, sneaky pirate.
I'm going to set my sights for Tim Curry's Long John Silver.
Long John Silver, at your humble service.
That's the best pirate.
Best pirate.
If y'all haven't watched Muppet Treasure Island, it's literally one of the best movies ever made. And I'm not joking when I say that. It's so good.
It is fucking gold. It's so good.
Jimmy Jim. I'm not Jimmy Jim. He's Jimmy Jim. Jim.
I watch it regularly, still. And I don't have a kid to watch. I mean, I have a baby, but that's not baby stuff. I just like watching that movie.
I regularly watch Muppets, not even just that movie, but that movie is one of the best.
So, what are you enjoying tonight in this Greek philosopher of a bathtub?
Oh, tonight I am following up part 1 of this episode with the same beer in part 2, the Saucy Brewworks Foxbia Imperial White Pastry Stout.
That's still a wild thing.
It's so good.
I had something else picked out that I got at our local discount store, but then my wife surprised me today with my favorite NA beer, which I think I've said on previous podcasts was the Sam Adams IPA NA, but I forget about this one because you can only get it, for a while you could only get it at Trader Joe's. Now I've seen it at 1 or 2 stores, but it's Klosthaler Original, but they also have a dry one that's very good too, but both of them are great. Klosthaler Original Non-Alcoholic, a well-balanced malt beverage with a full-bodied taste, brewed according to German beer purity laws with the finest barley malt and choice hops. Authentic, pure and natural, fresh and palatable with an intense hoppy tang.
Hoppy tang.
Are you enjoying anything else on this bathtub occasion?
I am not.
No fancy pre-rolls?
No marijuana this time.
Yo, my man! Hey, where's the drug?
Oh, we've got a somewhat sober Austin this night.
I mean, I've had some, just I'm not having any now.
Oh, okay. Do you have any sack soup seasoning?
I hate soup. It's the wettest of foods.
Oh, soup, right. Yeah, right.
No soup for you!
Soup.
Thrilling 3-day soup spectacular!
I am rolling with a favorite, a classic. We've been here before, people. Mr. Bubble.
I almost had some bubble bath in mind tonight, but we're almost out and I need to save it for the baby. Anything else?
That's it. Just the bubble today.
Man, you are skim milking it.
I'm keeping it trim, keeping it tight. This is my fast and loose.
Well, I have my bath bomb here that I'll tell you about in a second that, we got to tickle those hoes live on air. But have you ever been to an Ollie's?
Yeah.
When I was at Ollie's, which is a discount store, it's kind of like what Big Lots or Odd Lots used to be. It's stuff that is out of season or discontinued product lines. And I picked up the most absurdly masculine Epsom salt just because it was so stupid. I added that while it was filling up. It's the Dead Sea Collection Men's Muscle Soak.
Oh, okay.
For more hydrating, soothing, and healing effects. But the picture they have is now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of like my haircut and like beard, but like I don't even pretend to be like super masculine. But this is definitely trying to be. It's like all bold, white and black, intense lettering and stuff. But it's sandalwood scented. It smells pretty good. But it's not Epsom salt. Oh, I just realized it's dead sea salt. So it's just sea salt. So I'm just sitting in some salt water.
You're just floating a little.
Yeah, interesting. So I just got some knackle in here with me. Okay. But I'm excited about my bath bomb. It is from brand Halu, Bora Bora Geode Bath Bomb Floating Salt Crystals. And I'll send you a picture later. It does actually look like a geode. Like, it's beautiful. It's like they broke a regular bath bomb in half and then filled it with salt crystals that were dyed to look like the geode inside. Like, it looks really cool. And then, like, gold dust over it.
Interesting.
Its smell is Lang Lang, cedar, and citrus scent. That's how you pronounce that, right? Like YLANG is Lang Lang.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, we're dropping it in. It's going under the hose.
Oh.
Oh, that's bubbling pretty good, like the best of them. Sometimes these weird ones don't bubble very good, but that's going.
We got bubs with the best of them, folks.
It's not shooting out like the Black Panther was, but...
Black Panther shooting them hoes.
Shooting the ropes under my hose.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. So what are we talking about tonight, Austin? Tell me.
We're continuing our discussion about the Thundercone and the acne cream.
I can't believe we've split this into 2 parts.
I don't know what the fuck's wrong with us.
I mean, I was talking to somebody about it. It kind of works out because this season's only, 6 episodes?
It is.
If we make it longer, that's fine. Now, if this was one of those shows like we looked at that has 22 episodes a season, then it might be a problem.
I really thought we'd be able to fly through these.
I think we will. I think it was just our first episode of the season. We got a lot to talk about, so... we need to catch you up. Kip actually convinced a girl to come back to his house with abs that his grandmother sprayed on his stomach, and they are dancing to what is essentially the Chuck E. Cheese band. Oh, shoot. Austin.
Yeah.
This is relevant. Did you see that they are officially canceling the Chuck E. Cheese band?
No.
It's no more. They're getting rid of the band in all the restaurants that have it still.
I didn't even know that they still had it, but interesting.
How sad, because I remember that as a kid.
Yeah.
That was just in the news 2 weeks ago.
I remember it. I didn't go to Chuck E. Cheese often, but I remember it.
So Kip and his girl are dancing to this, and she goes in to make a move. She's like, feel my heartbeat, it's racing. And he puts his hand on her chest and he's like, oh my, that is racing. And then just runs off to his grandmother's room.
And at that point, Misty notices Napoleon out the window, who is working out Kevin Bacon style a la Footloose without the dancing.
Yeah, he is going to town. This Accutane is making him not just have unbridled rage and be horny. He's getting those gains.
Yeah, he's getting ripped.
But this scene where Kip runs into Grandma's room is so funny. First off, he runs in and we see her laying in bed, shirtless but with a bra on, reading Masculine Women Magazine. That's a hard word to say. Masculine Women Magazine.
Yep.
Kip is like, Grandma, there's 2 things I need from you. First, you really need to put on a shirt. And second, come out and meet the girl that you are going to be knowing with me for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. He literally says that we're going to spend the rest of our lives with.
But he's so unfazed by just walking in on his grandma, reading basically a lesbian porno mag, shirtless, and is like, Grandma, put on a shirt. You need to come out here.
None of that surprised me. I appreciate all of the context of it, but given the context of the relationship that has been placed so far, I'm not even a little bit surprised by any of that. Grandma does respond, okay, this one better not be made out of pipe cleaners, while getting up and putting her robe on.
Which, that did have me a little confused. I could expect maybe paper mache or, balloons, but pipe cleaners is an interesting choice, Kip.
It is.
For your fake girlfriend.
It is indeed. So at that point, Kip leads Grandma into the living room. Misty's not there. He goes to the window and finds her laying next to the swing set where Napoleon's working out, quite lustfully watching as he does ab curls, hanging upside down.
being held up by the llama.
Not with a gun.
Yeah, like the llama's like got its 2 front feet up on the table that Napoleon is laying on to do these ab curls on his feet to hold him in place.
Yes.
What is the llama's name? Tina?
Tina, you fat lard, come get some dinner.
I want a llama that's got my back like that.
Well, Grandma's got Kip's back, because she's like, sorry, I'll go warm up some milk and fluff up your crying pillow.
Not this time, Grandma. Not this time. Except for the milk.
Truthfully, I just want someone to give me some warm milk and fluff up my crying pillow.
You know, after like having a baby and like making a bottle for him every night to like put him to bed, I found myself making like a little bedtime glass of milk. It's nice.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm not big on warm milk. I don't heat it up. I tried it once and I was like, nope, cold milk for me.
I don't mind warm milk, but I prefer cold milk.
My notes here are very bad, and I think I've now watched this episode more times than anybody on planet Earth because of the times we thought we were going to record. I would watch it again. But Kip comes out and, like, is mad at Napoleon, and Napoleon's like, well, I joined a fight club. And he's like, no, you didn't. Like, that's not something you do. And he's like, well, what about this temporary tattoo? He's got a temporary tattoo with the PPC.
It's a skull wearing a coonskin hat and a piece of straw in its teeth.
I really wish they would have like done a gag and like had it been like he got the wrong one and it was the what was the colon, like the pediatrics group.
Oh yeah,
he thought it meant.
Right.
The Preston Pediatric Coalition?
Which would have been even funnier because they helped Kip.
Right, as a kid.
But yeah, no, Napoleon shows the two of them this temporary tattoo, and Misty may need a change of underwear.
You ever been to Niagara Falls?
Right, she is into it.
She says, I love tats, and starts licking it.
And Napoleon's unfazed by this. He's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Which, like, with the side effects that this cream is supposed to have, you'd think he'd be, like, on top of her if she was doing this.
Well, and that's the thing, I actually have it noted here, is Kip responds, Napoleon, get your hands off my lady. And my note is, he's really not touching her. She's hanging all over him.
Right.
Napoleon actually says, I don't want your sick woman, but I could take her if I wanted.
Which he does. He then picks her up, kicks a fence down, and runs through it.
Because insult to injury, Misty also says, he's right, Kip, he could.
I don't have written down what happens next.
So like you said, Napoleon says, you took my chicken, now I'm taking your chick, and he runs off with her. Oh, but he did say goodbye to the only woman that you've ever loved. And Kip's like, Grandma's not going anywhere.
Which, you know what? Good on him. He knows who he loves and who loves him.
Your grandma's bitch.
And even worse, before they run off, Misty hands the CD that Kip burned her with animatronic band and asks if he can replace it with songs that Napoleon likes.
Like, that's so mean.
So fucking
And, like,
mean.
does she not understand how burning CDs works?
It could be rewritable.
It could be, but you know you're gonna lose quality then.
It's true. So Kip walks back towards the house, singing Taking Care of Pizza very sadly.
Taking care of pizza every
But
day.
that's when he pauses. He sees Napoleon's shirt that he had ripped off, and he discovers the Rakuten. Reading the tube, it says, as we all know, unbridled rage. Well, that's illuminating. And then, of course, Rico pulls up in his van and yells, hey, Kip, you should see the girl Napoleon's running around with. You'd love her.
I love that.
Then he just drives off abruptly.
The next scene we get, if I'm not mistaken, is Kip rummaging around Napoleon's room, right? Later on.
So Napoleon is rummaging around
Right.
his room.
He's looking for the Accutane.
Right.
And he cannot find it because, as we just saw, Kip stole it. And Kip comes in and is giving him shit like, oh, what are you going to do without your Accutane? And
yeah.
I don't have the written down what the lead up to the line is, but at some point, Kip is talking about Misty and Napoleon's like, she has a name, Kip. I just don't know what it is. Which I have starred as one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, it's right when Kip enters the room. He says, what are you still doing here, Napoleon? I thought you had a big fight to impress the woman you stole from me. And right then the doorbell rings, And Kip's like, oh, that must be the ride I arranged for you. And it's Rex who's yelling and banging on the front door.
Yeah, he wants to get Napoleon to this appointment at the Thundercone.
Napoleon tells Pedro to tell Rex that he has diarrhea. But Rex lets himself in and pulls Napoleon out from under the bed he's hiding under. He's basically like, you're going to fight whether you want to or not. And as he's pulling him out of the room, Pedro's just like, be careful, he has diarrhea.
Which is such like an expected gag, but I still laughed quite hard at it.
It was good.
You know, if I was dragging a man out of somewhere and somebody told me he had diarrhea, I would be a little more hesitant about what I was doing.
It's the whole naked man thing. No one wants to tackle a naked guy.
True. Especially if he's got diarrhea.
I think he just shit himself.
Yeah, no one wants to touch that guy.
No one's ever touching that guy.
It's like a fountain that's upside down.
Yes. That's not an image I wanted in my head, but you were not wrong.
Anyway.
We are now at the Thundercone, and we see a bunch of people walking in to watch the night's festivities. Included in that group is Grandma and Uncle Rico, which I thought was hilarious. But also, like, I can 1000% seeing them being regulars there watching.
Yeah, so this is... It becomes clear over the course of the episode that this underground event is obviously
not at all
very well known.
Yeah, it's not at all hidden.
Because the whole scene sets up with a silo in the distance with like fucking spotlights like a movie premiere, and up close there's a long line of people, which is where we see Grandma and Rico waiting in that line coming in. They're all waiting to get in, and I did like this. They're waiting in line under a banner that says 150 years of rural bloodshed.
I didn't even catch that.
But through the part of the scene focusing on Grandma and Rico, we see that they have tickets and they're going in, but they do not know who the fighters are. This is a surprise.
Right, it's a mystery who's fighting at night. We do then see Napoleon. He's being walked into the Thundercone shirtless with a chain around his neck, which is a bit excessive and a little masochistic.
Before that, they're in the locker room.
Oh, I thought he had a chain around his neck at that point, too. Like, I thought that was preceding.
I don't have that until after, so I'm not sure.
Oh, gotcha.
But Napoleon's in the locker room. He's surrounded by candles and incense. And Pedro says, "Holy beans, tell me the future of my friend Napoleon."
And then he says, like, a prayer in Latin before he throws this handful of beans on the ground.
Yeah, he, like, shakes these beans in a can like he's playing Yahtzee.
And then they, like, fall on the ground, and what does it say? Like, Napoleon is going to die?
It literally says Napoleon will die.
And Napoleon's like, what do they say? Like, nothing important.
Yeah, he says it's not really specific. And he, like, wipes away the beans. But at this point, I have the note that he's wearing a metal shackle collar, and they're being led into the event by Rex on a chain and leash.
Again, I think Rex has some shit going on.
And this is where they make the same point that I just made. Deb takes a picture of him and explains that she takes pictures for the Thundercone's newsletter and blog. And Napoleon says, geez, the Thundercone is like the worst kept secret ever.
Right, if they have a newsletter and like Deb is like a high schooler who's the photographer for the newsletter.
So he has a really good point, but also how the fuck did he not know about it before?
Right, yeah, like Napoleon, at this point it's on you.
Right. Like, your family's going to this event. Everyone knows about it. It's been going on for 150 years. How is this news to you?
Like, what do you think Grandma and Uncle Rico are doing every Friday night? Like...
Making love.
God, I don't want to think about that.
He's got a van.
He does have a van that he lives in. Through this whole thing, though, there's also, like, a weird choir who's, like, singing what all is going on.
Yes, that's my next note. You're doing great.
Like, it's very bizarre. This whole thing has, like, weird vibes. It's, like, half culty, half, like, Saturday night football game.
Right, like, Napoleon's coming through this tunnel of, like, jeering fans like it's a boxing or wrestling match or something. And then there's this, like, monk choir in robes being conducted by the Happy Hands Club instructor.
I didn't even catch that. That's hilarious.
Before Napoleon enters the ring, Misty leans over from the stands and tries to give him a short story, which appears to simply be a book that she wrote, titled Misty's story, the story of Misty.
And he's like, first thing I can say is no colon in the title.
Yep. And he gets pushed into the ring. Rex announces, and now for the main event of the evening, we bring you a bloodbath like no other.
Yeah, he says that we have a newcomer, which is Napoleon. And Grandma and, Uncle Rico are obviously like, what is Napoleon doing there? And then Rex is like, and we have another new person. He's the man with no face. And this, like, super intense giant man walks in who's got this, like, it reminded me of something from, like, you'd see from the first season of SpongeBob, like, over the top, like, dark, evil, metal, not even mask. It's like a juggernaut head over the top of his head.
Yes, 100%. I think I made the note that it was similar to that. Yeah, so I said the helmet was a cross between a Scold's bridle and a diver's helmet.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Also, this scene is the scene that I know we mentioned this in part 1, but this scene is the scene where I really realized how fucked up the episode order on Tubi is.
Why do you say that?
Because after Napoleon goes into the ring and they announce the bloodbath, the scene pans to the soak zone where fans are wearing yellow ponchos, which I believe is where Rico and Grandma are. And in the soak zone is the Scantron machine from episode 2.
So we're not watching the first episode?
No, we are watching the first... Wait. No, we are watching the first episode, but I had to go check because I was like, this doesn't make sense. Wait, are they making a callback? But no, in this case...
It's a call forward.
In this case, this is correct. Yes. But it threw me off so much. I'm like, fuck, is this the wrong order again?
I don't even know. I'm just trusting you on this one, Austin. I have no idea if we're watching the episode in order.
I'm pretty sure we are. So far, we've only watched one. So Rico says to Grandma, "Hey, that's Napoleon," and she's like, "What's that idiot doing in there?"
I mean, I'd probably say the same thing, even if it was like a dude I knew in high school who was good at fighting. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
This is like a deadly fight club that apparently people die in regularly.
Right. So at that point, we get, as you said, this executioner-looking fucking guy called the Man with No Face. And the monk choir is singing, "He has no face."
I like that.
And Napoleon's just like, "Spare me, man with no face."
Except the man opens his helmet and dun 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 is Kip.
Kip.
Kip is the man with no face.
And Napoleon's response is amazing. This may be my favorite line. "Kip, you liar, you have a face, and I'm gonna freaking pound it."
That is a good one. Like, Kip, you liar, you have a face. At this point, like, we realize that it's just Kip, and he's just in his tidy whities on stilts.
Yep, he removes all of his other, like, vestments, and he's just, like you said, standing on stilts and cowboy boots wearing a black Speedo.
And yeah, of course, Grandma and Uncle Rico like, oh my god, it's Kip. We know how this goes.
It's great. Rico's, like, so disappointed. He's like, "I've seen these guys fight every time a dang shampoo sample comes in the mail."
Dude, I miss those samples in the mail. Like, you'd get the magazine where, like, you'd have to scratch it and find out, like, what the different perfumes of, like, the month smelled like. Like, kids today, man, they're missing out.
They just don't know.
They do.
You can't sniff a TikTok.
You cannot smell a TikTok. You can't scratch it and smell white diamonds from the JCPenney's catalog.
And it's just a crying shame.
It really is. I don't remember actually getting, like, full-ass samples, though.
Sometimes stuff like that would come. Not usually in magazines, but sometimes you get, like, sample stuff. Anyway, Napoleon says, "This is going to be an easy fight." And Kip's like, "Is it, Napoleon?" And he pulls out the Roaccutane.
He then slaps it on his forehead, just like Napoleon did.
And Misty's like, "I love when guys fight over me."
Yeah, and Deb's like, "So do I."
But it's clear that she's being sarcastic because she can't really relate.
Oh, I didn't even catch that, but that makes much more sense. I just thought it was a weird line that Deb said.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed like a facetious reply to me. So Napoleon's like, "Screw you, Kip." And he's like, "All right, but first, let me unscrew the cap on this tube." And Napoleon says, I'm so gonna apply my skills to beat you. Perhaps right after I apply the last of this rage cream to my face.
Napoleon is so over these puns.
He says, quit cleverly twisting my words. And Misty says, stop talking, start punching.
To which, like, Kip then begins to just beat the shit out of Napoleon.
Yeah, he lands 2 very devastating blows using his stilts, and then tries to stomp Napoleon as Napoleon rolls away. And Kip's chasing after him on fucking stilts saying, come on, let me murder you. And Napoleon's just like, when the heck did you learn to walk on stilts?
What does Kip say? Like, when the better question is,
will Kip show me mercy? The answer is no.
That's such a cold line. That's such a cold line.
And like, he fucking uses the stilt to sweep Napoleon's damn legs. And the crowd starts chanting punch. And Misty's yelling, I love you, Kip. And then she starts crying and saying, why am I so crazy?
I mean, I think she should have realized it before this point.
Yes. She's got some stuff to come to terms with.
She's got a lot of stuff going on.
So Kip dismounts his stilts and approaches Napoleon. And he says, and now for a cute little death blow I call the Blood Brother.
This is the test that separates the good men from the bad men, brother.
But he goes in for the hit, and it's weak.
Yes, Napoleon says, that's a stupid name, now finish me. And the cream wears off right as he's trying to land that punch. And Kip hurts himself. Napoleon's uninjured, and Kip says, ow, my hand, what happened?
At this point, the fight basically breaks into what Kip and Grandma were expecting it to be.
Yeah, it's very childish. It's a slap fight. There's hair pulling.
It's just sad.
The crowd boos and starts throwing things into the ring, including a chainsaw.
Including a chainsaw, which will come back later.
Rex says, these pussy willows are ruining my show. Raise the cage.
And the weirdest thing happens. I mean, the cage is raised up, but inside of this cage is is it a dead bear?
When the cage rises up from the ground, it's, what you can see is a shadowy, muscular figure eating straight from a dead buffalo.
A buffalo. I will say, though, that the second time watching it, it also could be interpreted that she could be giving fellatio to this buffalo. We don't see any gore, and we just see her going to town on his stomach region. I was like, wait. I had to, pause it and, this is way different than I remember it, but I think it's supposed to be implied that she's eating it.
And she is Starla, folks.
She is Starla, our Chernobyl lady, and Rex's wife.
Yes, Rex's introduction is literally, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the beast of the Thundercone and the love of my life, Starla. And the monk choir echoes, love of his life. I love that choir.
I want a choir like this following me around all the time, Austin.
Same. This choir is the best part.
But she comes out looking menacing, and Kip and Napoleon reach for some of the weapons that were thrown in the ring, and Kip says to Napoleon, isn't it ironic that we were fighting over a woman and now we're gonna die under one? And Napoleon replies back, this is one of my starred lines.
Same.
Don't worry, Kip, you'll never wind up under a woman. And he doesn't comment back.
That was one of my starred lines too.
Poor Kip. And he doesn't even deny it.
Nope. At that point, Napoleon throws Kip a mace and grabs the chainsaw. Napoleon uses the chainsaw to cut a hole in the wall of the ring.
Before then, because they have these and they're facing Starla, and Starla also looks a little worried, oh shit, Kip just started this chainsaw and Napoleon has a mace. Should I be worried here? But then they turn around and they start cutting a hole in the wall to escape.
Fair enough. Kip uses the mace to knock out the hole that Napoleon cuts. They run, and everyone chases after them, forming an angry mob. Napoleon says, thanks, Kip. I couldn't have chickened out with a better guy. And Kip says, can we make up later? I can't run and talk at the same time. So they run off screen, and the mob passes the camera. Rex is yelling to Starla to kill him. Misty's yelling to Starla that she loves her. And then we cut to the Goof Nuts Pizza Parlor again.
Yep, and credits begin to roll here as this scene plays out.
So Kip and Grandma, Napoleon, and Rico are all sharing a booth by the stage. The Goof Nuts band is performing another pizza-themed parody. They're performing a version of All That She Wants by Ace of Base, but it's All That She Wants is Another Pizza with pepperoni.
I mean, I think that's probably true. I mean, most people would prefer that.
I suppose. Rico says that he used to come here after all his football games when it was a laundromat.
Which is a strange choice.
Yeah, like, was he hanging out? Was he washing out the grass stains? Like...
Though, when I was in Columbus, when I lived there was a laundromat that had a bar in it, which is, like, the most genius idea. Because, like, you're just sitting around doing nothing.
For a couple hours.
Right. That's such a good idea. Why don't all laundromats have bars in them?
They should. Grandma then asks, are all their songs about pizza? And Kip says, Pizzeritaville's not about pizza. It's about a town. I think they're from there. And Napoleon says they're not from anywhere because they're not real.
Yeah, he's under the impression that they're animatronics.
You don't understand, Wendy. This animatronic badger sings, it dances. It's the perfect money-taking attraction.
Because yep. And the frontman gorilla says, thank you, good night. And their heads all slump forward again, powering down like before. And Napoleon's like, see? And then the gorilla sits up, raises his sunglasses, and says, always good to see you, Kip, before they all get up and walk off stage. Abe Lincoln at this point is not wearing pants. He was before, I swear to God.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And Kip just says, told ya, while Napoleon is just standing there staring in disbelief.
And that's the end of the episode.
That's it.
This is like when I realized, like, oh, this is doing what regular show did, but like before regular show. Where it starts out as just like a normal high school teenager, and then by the end, like, the world's falling apart.
Right.
I did love that ending scene, though. Like, that was so funny. Like, just them getting up, like, oh, yeah, see ya, Kip, and then just walking off stage. And everyone is just like, the looks on their faces are like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
So going into this, we had talked about that you are not a Napoleon Dynamite fan of, like, the movie, but what did you think of this first episode?
So far, so good. It's definitely more enjoyable than the movie. I don't think it's something that I would have ever sought out and watched on my own. Obviously, I'd never seen it before, but I don't hate it by any means.
No, I really enjoyed this, and I do have some thoughts that I'll talk about on the wrap-up about, like, the whole thing. But I laughed out loud so many times during this episode. It's just so funny. Even if you'd like, if you're listening and you didn't like the movie, like Austin, it's worth a shot. It's really funny.
Yeah, truthfully, I'll say, and I think we might have mentioned this in part one, but, you know, we did learn in choosing this episode this show, that this was more of the vision of the movie originally, but they couldn't do as absurd things because of the live action medium.
And lack of funds.
So I do think that the format plays a role in it. There is, and maybe it's just a personal preference of mine, because I genuinely, it's not just Napoleon Dynamite. I'm not really a fan of that, like, whatever, writing, directing teams movies that much. But the cartoon format, the type of comedy, and I think what they're possibly able to do with it beyond what they could with the movie, I enjoy more.
I still love the movie, personally, because it kind of invented a genre of that weird, awkward, funny.
Yeah, it's a very specific type of absurdist humor.
And, like, honestly, I don't get that vibe at all from this show, but you can tell it's got some of the same flavor.
For sure. That's the thing. It's still, there are tons of parts of it that still very much feel like the movie, and they did get all the same actors to come back and play their parts, so, I mean, it's going to, but it's also not like the movie in the same breath.
Yeah. I can't even imagine some of these scenes in like live action. It wouldn't work.
There's a level of emotion, I think, that they're able to take the characters to in this format that you couldn't, and still maintain certain aspects of what made the characters iconic.
Definitely.
Because by no means am I saying that, you know, Napoleon Dynamite is not an iconic movie and did not make, you know, big waves at the time that it was released. It was a fucking huge thing, whether I like it or not.
My God,
it was a huge fucking thing. You know, I'm not a fan of The Wizard of Oz. I'm not going to deny that that's a culturally important film.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not really a fan either, but like I know people that fucking love it.
Right.
Now, I think we've talked about it, but I've got so many starred lines. There are some great lines in this show, but do you have a favorite?
So I do find this show a little bit harder to find lines from than The Tick. We were very spoiled with The Tick.
There's so many great one-liners.
The only one I actually had starred on here, I was gonna go with was, "Don't worry, Kip, you'll never wind up under a woman." But after going through this second part, I genuinely think I'm going to choose over that, "Kip, you liar, you have a face."
Kip, you liar, you have a face, and I'm gonna freaking pound it.
That's a fantastic one. I was just going through my notes, and it's hard to choose, but like I think my favorite one isn't so much the words of the line, but just the whole thing was funny. It was when it's more my favorite scene, but when Napoleon's first getting introduced to all the different parts of the PPC, and there's the Badger fighters, and he's watching them fight, and one of them says, "Nipple twist," and twists the guy's nipple. And the other guy looks him dead in the eyes and says, "Reverse." And it's just like reversing a nipple twist by flinging this guy by untwisting his own nipple. It's so funny.
It was just like Uno. He played the reverse.
Nipple twist! Reverse!
On a purple nurple. It was, oh my, yeah, that's my favorite. Because I would never think of that. I watched the episode again today, and I still stopped it and laughed, even though it was like the 5th time I'd watched the episode.
I can't argue. It was a good scene.
It was. Now, this is the part of the episode where we usually talk about things we're doing outside of the show, right?
It is.
Now, we have a big one, and it is that I was a guest on another podcast, and we talk a little bit about our show. The podcast name is Petals of Support, so like Petals. It's a regularly release show. I think it might be daily, but it may just be weekly. But it's Mama D is the host, and she's wonderful. And it's just a short little pick-me-up kind of show where you listen to hear about, the hardship of life, but also, the positive and the good things and, just finding support. And I talked quite openly about some of the struggles I've had over the last couple of years mentally, and my struggles with drinking and alcohol. And the episode's going to come out some point in June. I have a feeling it'll probably come out before this episode of Bathtub season does, and I'll definitely be posting about it on our socials. But it's definitely a show worth checking out. It's great, and they're way bigger than us. She is, and I can't believe that she invited me to be a guest on the show from our interactions on Twitter between the Bathtub season Twitter and her show's Twitter. But I'm really looking forward to that coming out. It was fun to do.
Absolutely. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah. Have you listened to the show?
I have listened to the show a little bit. I've gone to it a few times, and there's some really great stuff there, and it is a good, just, I don't know if daily meditation is the right word, but it can act that way.
Way of looking at it. Yeah. Just a short little thing, something to think about, some positive philosophy for your day. It's a cool space that she's created. Outside of that, I don't really have much. I mentioned it on one of our first episodes, but I've started playing Vampire Survivors again on both Switch and your phone, and that is such a good video game that you can just pick up and play quickly and put down, and it's so much fun, and it's free on mobile, and it's only $5 on Switch, and oh, what a good video game. Oh, we also went to the zoo yesterday. Go to zoos. Zoos are fucking great. Like, everyone loves zoos, and I forget that until I'm at a zoo, and I'm like, this is fucking great. Why don't I go to these more?
Fair enough. I haven't been to a zoo in a while. It's also been a few years since I've been to an aquarium, but I feel like I've frequented them a little bit more.
Yeah, aquariums are great too. Especially if it's a zoo that has an aquarium, then you get both. I didn't get to see the manatees this time though, and those are my favorite animal, as I'm sure you're aware, Austin. But I love manatees. They are the best. They have no natural predators, so they just float around in the water, eat, and just be happy. They don't have to be scared a moment of their life because Like, that's not a joke. They don't have a natural predator. So they just live their life, eating leaves, living the good life. It's so wonderful. That's why I love them so much. They're just big, happy potatoes.
How do I get that?
You know, I do kind of believe in reincarnation a little bit. If that is the way things go, as we've said, this show is my living will and testament. I want to be reborn as a manatee. And Austin, I am tasking you on figuring out how to make that happen. Contact your local witches and warlocks and priests and find out how I can do that.
I'm going to start with the socials. Hashtag manatee me.
Manatee me is good. My manatee life. These are both like made for TV Disney movies for sure.
The best ones.
Oh yeah.
Man or manatee.
Coming on right after Spy Kids. We're old.
Oh yeah. I could say a lot of things that would date me.
What about you, Austin? What do you have for our wonderful, beautiful listeners?
Well, I apologize that I don't have much either. I have just been working nonstop, it seems like. It's diversified work. It's not, one slave driving boss or anything, but I've got a lot on my plate at the moment. Corey and I are working on keeping this podcast going, which is very important to both of us, and admittedly has been hard to make the time that I want to for.
But I think, like I said, like on the video I made, that, we both, we've been open about is like mental health is important. And, we don't want to jeopardize that to make the show. And I think it's okay for, people to know that if you're busy and stressed, that you can take time for yourself. There's no shame in it. And I think if anything comes out of our delay making season 2, I hope it's that people can recognize.
And to be truthful, that's, it's dead on the head. I have been stressed. My mental health has been low through periods of this. And, there are some really great things going on right now. I love the part of my life that is audio engineering, as you can probably tell from the episodes previous where we've nerded out about how we record these things.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been mixing more shows at a couple clubs, and I've been working on demos with a band that I'm about to start an album with in a couple weeks, and I've been working on an album with another band, and I've been, editing those things and mixing those things and getting ready for the next session on those things in the evenings when I'm not at work and when I'm not doing other gigs. So it has been hard to make time for myself, let alone anything else.
Right.
But those things are all good, even though they do take a lot of energy.
That's super cool, though. I didn't know I knew you were doing some of that, but that's super cool that you're able to start, not start, but that, things are picking up in that part of your career.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment, and even more about to start up too, because I don't know if you remember, but I do. I have a summer contract with a city to do concerts that they host, and that's about to start back up too.
That's incredible.
So all of that has been a factor in both why we haven't been recording this and releasing this as frequently, and also it's a factor in why I don't have a lot to give you in terms of what I've been doing to de-stress, because it's been sleep and work for the most part. That being said, these may not be the most broadly applicable or helpful things, but a couple things that I have made time for myself that have felt important and significant and brought me joy that I needed, and a break from the other stuff that I needed, has been, we've had a kind of cold week this week, but prior to that we had some really nice days. And over this past weekend, I went kayaking for the first time this year.
Oh, was it in the lake?
Yes, it was in a lake. It was in Portage Lakes.
Nice. I don't think I've ever been kayaking.
I love kayaking. We should absolutely go sometime. I know some places to go. But yeah, this was the first time I made it out this year so far, and it was great. It was great to be back out there. The other thing that I did for myself, tried to do for myself over the weekend and ended up doing for myself last night, is I went to a tattoo flash event.
Nice.
And it was an event called Tats for Bats. that the proceeds, or a portion of the proceeds, were going to help Bat Conservancy.
Dude, that's sweet. Bats are great. I just listened to a podcast about bats and how they don't make sense to science. Did you know, like, bats live, like, decades?
Yeah.
Like, 60, 70 years. Like, and scientists don't know why. So, compared to their body size, it doesn't make any sense. Where if we lived the same length of time as bats, it'd be, like, 800 or 900 years. So, scientists are trying to figure out how bats live so long, and they don't get sick. Hardly ever. There's been like one outbreak of a disease that bats got in like the last few decades that any scientist has seen. They just live like they're young for decades and then just die. And so scientists are trying to figure out why that is and if they can apply any of that to humans. Like, it could be really cool and like it could blow open health science if they figured it out.
I think you're talking about vampirism.
No, this is like a real thing. It was a new podcast. I actually meant to bring it up as well if we didn't have much else to talk about. But I found this podcast. I found out, it's huge. It's in the top 30 podcasts, period. Like, it's called Science Versus, and it's a very popular podcast where they do a lot of research and they have all of the peer-reviewed journals and citations and to back it up in every episode. And there was an episode about bats in the last few months that I really just caught up on and listened to, and it was super cool. Like, I had no idea. Bats, I think the episode was called Bats Break Science. It doesn't make any sense, but it could be groundbreaking.
That's cool. I've always thought bats were awesome. I remember being in, I think, elementary school and doing like a whole report on them with National Geographics and stuff. But yeah, I went to this event. They were very, very, very busy that day, and they were not going to get to everyone, and they were certainly not going to get to me and my friend who went. But luckily, they were doing a rain check list. So we went back last night and we got our bat tattoos and gave some money to the bats, and I am happy with my tattoo and I feel good about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife actually went to a Tattoo Flash event like a month or two ago and had a really good time with it too. So I think that's a great suggestion to people.
Yeah. If you're into that kind of thing, I know for me, I mean, this is going even more personally, but like, I'm someone who struggles with the whole like meditation thing, and I know I'm not alone in that.
Same.
I definitely know I'm not alone, and I know, there's the whole thing with it that, well, yeah, it's not supposed to be easy, like, it's a practice, you have to get there, but like, it's very difficult. Like, more times than not that I have attempted to meditate, I have come out of it feeling worse than I went in.
I've not had that.
So
I just give up eventually.
What I can say for me is what people get out of meditation, that practice and that ability of clearing the mind and just being and sitting there and, not like
empty mind.
I get that when I'm being tattooed. Like, that is the closest I've ever come, and I ever come, and it's consistent.
I can see that. It's been a while since I got a tattoo, though. I think the last one I got was the one we got together, and that was like, what, 2 years ago?
That was
3 years ago?
More than that.
4?
Shit. Because the last tattoo I got before this was probably 2 to 3 years ago. No, fuck. The last one I got before this was probably 2020, maybe 2021. So yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. And we got ours a couple of years before that, maybe.
So 2019, maybe?
2018 or 19, I think.
I want to do some more stick and pokes. I love doing stick and pokes. I got like 5 or 6 of them.
Nice.
That is not a suggestion to our listeners. That can be very dangerous. So this is, disclaimer.
Although if you're gonna do it, they do make like professional amateur stick and poke kits. Like, there is a relatively safe way to do it.
There is. That's not how I did it, and I should have, but
it's not how I did it either, but I can promote what exists now.
Yeah, I did the full like sewing needle with India ink. I bought it at like the craft store. Again, don't do this.
Yeah, don't. We're professionals.
I love them though. I did it in high school. I didn't think it'd actually be permanent, and it was. My first two. I got a smiley face on my knee and a heart on my ankle. And I did them like junior year of high school. And I was like, well, I got tattoos. I didn't think this would work.
It worked.
And they're still there. But I've given myself like 2 or 3 more since then, like after college, but just after I knew it worked. But they look terrible, but I love them.
Yeah.
But go check out Pedals of Support. Like I said, my episode is supposed to come out mid-June. Even if this comes out after then, that'll give you a ballpark of when to look on the timeline of that show. June of 2024. Once I have a official date, I will post it on all of our socials. And if you don't follow us already, go do that because I post fun things on all of them. We have a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Not calling it X, it's Twitter. And I'm missing one. YouTube channel. We got a SoundCloud. Just go to bathtubseason.com. It's got all of our links and to all the different places you can listen to us at if you want to change your podcatcher. I know Google Podcasts just closed. If you're looking for something new, I think I mentioned this on the last episode, but Good Pods is a new startup, and they are very cool. Both their service and the app are wonderful. So if you're looking for a new podcatcher beyond what you're currently using, or if you lost Google Podcasts, go check them out. They're great. We've chatted a bit on Twitter. Do you have anything else you want to say, Austin?
Stay wet, folks.
Stay wet. Treat your hose good. And as always, go take a bath. You deserve it. Bye.
Bye.